Hello, everybody, and welcome to Global Cannabis Application Corp's channel. Just want to let you guys know what we're going to be doing here. We're going to be running through company updates, industry updates, answering any questions you guys have for us. If you have any during any of these series of interviews, don't be afraid to send them over. And of course, introducing members of the team. So who better to kick us off? Video number one, the Chief Executive Officer of the company, Brad Moore. Brad, how are you doing today?
Good, Michael. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well myself. So glad to have you on. And I really feel like the best way to start this would be to paint a picture of your past experience for people, just to kind of get them to where you are today. So tell us about some of your things, like what motivates you as a businessman or gave you that entrepreneurial spark.
That's a good question. Wow, since I'm old, this could go on for a while, right? So,
Spark no
look,
expression.
yeah, it was funny. I was talking with my partner, her and I were talking about the first time I ever had a job, like when I actually went to work, and I had a paper route when I was 8, and I actually had a job when I was 12, working at a gas station. So, and that's 2 years before, even back in the old days in the 80s, you weren't allowed to work that young. But so I've always worked. I've just, it's been my thing. I like to work. And, I think what was interesting, as many people know, when I went into I got out of high school, I grew up in Cranbrook, and I got out, and, I come from a long line of people that have served in the military, and I enlisted. And it's interesting in there because they really teach you how to work. What you think is work is not work until you kind of, get out there, and they're showing you, starting off why you got to shave, why, you're 19 years old, you've never shaved in your life, and they're making you like, why am I doing this? And you learn a lot about patterns and behaviors, what produces a result, right? And that, you also learn one really important thing, that you get to point A from point B from point A by putting your head down, and it's left, right, left. And it doesn't matter if you're carrying 12 pounds, 30 pounds, or 130 pounds. If your feet are moving, you'll get there. So hard work and just stick to itness, right?
Mm.
And I've been able to kind of carry that forward in my life. I mean, my first sales job, because at the end of the day, in CEO, that's what I got to do, is I got to sell the company, right? Whether I'm talking to an investor, or I'm talking to a capital raise guy, or most importantly, a customer, I have to sell what we're doing. And, I've got a job. This shows you how old I am. I was out of the army. I was going to university. I got a job selling encyclopedias door to door, man. And, you come out of the army and with a shaved head, it's not, you got to learn how to sell because you're not super approachable, right? And so I learned it, and I learned how to follow process controls. And I actually, one thing as I learned about sales, there's a reason they call it a pipeline, because it's based on predictable, repeatable behaviors over and over again, and you just got to get at it. So what I learned between the army and what I learned between sales, I actually became a very good salesman. You fast forward all the way through until 2007, when I went back to university and got my MBA. I guess I thought I was smarter than I was. I stepped into global cannabis, and I had done the internet thing. I'd done a startup as a sales guy. I worked for Kodak for many years as a channel business manager, and then as a business manager. But I think what happened is when, I got my MBA and the conditions were right to set out my own, I found my entrepreneurial spirit. Coming in the global cannabis was really just about an opportunity to spread my wings and fly. And, so I, like I said, maybe I'm a little bit, as I like to say, I'm a little bit more tenacious than I am smart, and I probably think I'm smarter than I am. So I seem to be a good profile for a Pubco CEO of a startup.
For sure, man. For sure. I mean, it's really interesting. Your big stint in sales, and that is a very difficult sales job. I couldn't even imagine trying to sell an encyclopedia to people door to door. I mean,
Well, that's
obviously
because there's no more
nowadays.
books anymore, so you couldn't imagine, and that's why. That's
Yeah,
one of the
good point.
reasons.
I haven't read a book in so long. I mean, I don't even
Yeah,
understand how you guys did business without the internet. Like, let's be
mhm,
real here. But
yeah.
getting down to it, I mean, that was a very good experience for being a CEO, where, like you said, you're kind of the head salesman. You are representing the brand, and you're sharing with everybody. So now let's get to that part. So now you're the CEO here.
Mhm.
Break down what that means, like on the day to day, some of the things you handle.
Well, I think it's important to understand kind of the start point. So very early on, like, look, the GCAC was not GCC. It was fundamental applications, which was student buy sell. And then when Facebook Marketplace came out, I transitioned it, and I transitioned it into cannabis because I had cannabis investments, right? And I had a real problem with basically the story that was being sold, right? You know, just because you have a green neon red cross flashing, that doesn't mean it's medical. It means that they're, you know, especially in the gray market in Canada, is that you had an opinion on what it should be used for. And God forbid that you took a lot of cannabis and I never used it, because, you know, I'd end up on the floor having a seizure potentially from it. And as most people have heard, that was my experience when I went through cancer in 2020, right? And I went through my treatment. I couldn't take a chance, right? So that started a process. And you know what it really did, and the whole angle about being a Pubco CEO, it's a business unto itself. But at the end of the day, there is no business if there's not the business. And so you really got to kind of make sure you stay there. You know, I'm a big believer. There's a great marketing analogy. It's called crossing the chasm, where you have your innovators, early adopters, and then you get on the other side. And one of the things that I found is, for a number of years, we've been trumpeting and championing blockchain, cannabis on the blockchain, to the point in 2019, when I did my first iteration of our patent application, nobody else was doing it. I couldn't believe it. And I could see clearly, because I learned enough what a blockchain could do, a working blockchain. And so what that meant is, when I focused just like on the product and moved it forward, what I started to understand, that was the business. And then the CEO part of being the Pubco CEO part is about telling that story effectively. And you know what? The longer it goes on, the harder it is to sell. And you got to get new eyeballs, and you have to, and sometimes, just like the Tesla thing, nobody gets it at the beginning. It's a ghost. It's a mystery. It doesn't seem, because, look, everything fundamentally is about revenue, but revenue doesn't happen. It's created, and it's created from sales, which is generated from a product, which means there needs to be a marketplace, which gets back to that curve about where you are in the market adoption curve. And either you're early or you're late. Nobody's perfectly in the middle. And we were early. But as the market adopts and curves and gets ready, you need to be well positioned. Having the only patent of cannabis on the blockchain globally that's actually approved, we're well positioned. And I can say this as this Pubco CEO, we're well ahead of everybody else. And I think that's indicative of our numbers, right? Like, I mean, I went from 0 to a million miles, but let's put it this way. I went from 0 to 1.5 million USD miles an hour when I announced that press release. I went not just to revenue, I went to profitability in one press release.
Wow. Yeah, I'm kind of getting to the heart of what you're saying there about being early and so on and so forth. You do see, it's really interesting. So it's specifically in the blockchain space, NFTs were around way before they had that huge explosion.
Yeah.
The metaverse stuff was around in forms way before it had the huge explosion in popularity as well. And now you're kind of seeing some of them get way beyond even they're just desserts. Like, their hype on that is absolutely insane. Sure. But my point is that, yeah, when it comes down to it, you can be early, and it's all about positioning yourself, knowing and believing in the vision that you have. Like, this is going to be a thing. This is the next move. And then preparing for that execution. And then the rest of the world will catch up with you.
One of the things, Mike, that we did is we started off in 2018. We came up with the brand name Citizen Green. The idea behind it is, we said there is a lack of leadership in this space. Citizen Green will lead the way. How? I'm not sure, but it will. And, maybe that's my Kodak marketing background coming through. But as the day now, it stands like this. You have GCAC, which is General Mills. You have Citizen Green, which is all things cannabis on the blockchain. And then you have our products. Ifixi, maybe that's Cheerios Honey Nut, right? So Citizen Green is Cheerios, and Ifixi is Honey Nut, and Prescripti is chocolate Cheerios. Who knows? But that's the way it's shaking out, because people need something to hang their hat on, right? When you're looking at things, and when you once again understand marketing and crossing the chasm, there comes a point when that brand will have to mean something. Like, there'll have to be an emotional attachment to it. And from what we've seen as of Q4 2020, that's what happened. If you don't mind me, I want to give you some numbers. This is incredible stuff. We looked at 40 companies, comparables, right, to us on the CSE. It's been a bloodbath in the CSE for cannabis companies, like an absolute bloodbath. We looked at companies, look, we're a cannabis tech company, but we looked at cannabis companies, similar market cap. All of us have lost market cap. It's just happened, right? But out of those 40, so we're the 41st, out of those 40, like 14 are viable, but no profitability. 13 are broke. Okay. And another 13 are delisted in 6 months, dude. 6 months. So what have we done in 6 months? We've become profitable. We've got somebody paying all the bills, as you saw in that press release. So we're cash flow positive, right? And we're profitable. And we're at a great buy at a nickel, I think. My humble opinion, we're at a great buy.
Yeah, fair enough, Brad. I feel like you did a really good job of walking us through how you came to be the person you are today in the shoes you're in as the CEO of the company. We're going to do a deeper dive later on, everybody. But for now, don't be afraid to send over any questions you got. And Brad, any closing statements you want to add before we go?
It's great to talk to you guys. I'm excited. This is GCAC has had a great quarter. And we plan to have 3 more great quarters. I can tell you that. You're talking to an old Army guy. It's left, right, left, right. We'll continue to do that. Happy to answer any questions. And thanks for the opportunity, Michael.
Wonderful. Thank you, Brad. Thank you, everyone, for watching, and have a wonderful day.
Bye-bye.